This is Issues Today, a look at the issues that affect all of us. Here is Bob Gourley.
Welcome to the program. It's a pleasure to have you with us. Well, today, Vicki Alger talks about the state of the public school system. Carla Lee Johnston will talk about GMO labeling laws. And Bob Pritchard on backpack safety. Coming to you from the palatial studios in California overlooking the Blue Pacific. This is Issues Today.
Lawns love fall. They love backyard touch football and kids diving into leaf piles. But what lawns really love is fall's cool air and warm soil. That's why now is the time to use Scott's Turf Builder grass seed to help repair and thicken your lawn from the long summer. Scott's Turf Builder grass seed grows grass quicker, thicker, and greener, guaranteed. So pick up a bag today. Fall time is yard time with Scott's.
Hey everyone!
This is Life Tips with Geico.
Life tip 1. You can use a razor to shave those little lint balls off your sweatshirt or jacket.
Speaking of jackets, try wearing yours backwards. You could use the hood as a convenient snack trough.
Life tip 2. Switch to Geico and you could save hundreds on your car insurance. On top of that, the Geico Insurance Agency could help save you money on home and renter's insurance. Geico. Get savings into your life. Visit geico.com today.
Education continues to be a big topic, and so many people are battling, it seems like, long-time institutions, including federal government and some of the commands and dictates that they are putting through as well. We're going to talk today to Vicki Alger, who is a research fellow at the Independent Institute. Her new book is called Failure, the Federal Miseducation of America's Children, about how the federal government has been really getting into the local movement and how charter schools are trying to make a difference in education. Vicki, good to have you with us on the program.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, this, one of the things that's going on, the charter school movement is very popular. We were just talking about Los Angeles, which, has a lot of people, particularly in the poor areas and minority areas where they're seeing results for these kids, and yet it's being fought in many areas, unfortunately, I think.
Oh, absolutely. And here's the thing. When we talk about charter schools, the idea actually, we're in one of those strange situations where the very people who actually decades ago were the ones proposing it now oppose it. Because the idea of charter schools actually came out of, this is in the early 70s, a Harvard education professor, self-identified socialist, who thought, wouldn't things be better if teachers opened, operated, and managed schools? Now, his idea has been transformed, but even the previous head of the American Federation of Teachers thought every school should be a charter school because it would be about education. Teachers would be respected the way they should. And then, the first charter school in the United States was opened in Minnesota in 1990. And what we have is when we free schools from this really Byzantine district structure, they're free to innovate. You have to, as you know, charter schools are public schools. Just instead of being run at a district level, they're run locally, and they have to accept all children. They have to comply with all state testing and attendance and safety requirements. But when you free schools to innovate and make education individualized for every student, you see tremendous results. Talk about beat the odds. Charter schools also typically, they are not funded the same way district schools are. Typically, the total amount of money is not quite as much per student as it is for district public schools, but they're getting the job done at a fraction of the price. And here's the thing I actually like most about charter schools. Not all schools are going to be good. The bad ones shut down, because if they don't fulfill the terms of their charter or their contract, they're closed. And I would say one of the biggest drags on education in the United States of America isn't that bad schools close. It's that the bad schools stay open almost in perpetuity, and they keep getting more money, more money, more money. Meanwhile,
because that's always the mantra is, well, we need to throw more money at it. And in the meantime, some of these teachers who are not should have not been on the job are not able to be fired for a lot of reasons. Sometimes union problems, whatever. So union
Absolutely.
participation.
Not everybody's cut out to be a teacher. We have to acknowledge that. And what happens is when we keep, and it doesn't have to be you fire your entire teaching force. In any school, it's one, maybe two teachers who just aren't up to snuff. But they demoralize the teaching staff. They create such problems because other people have to step into the void and make up for they're not getting the job done. And then those other teachers who do a great job and dedicate themselves, they're being paid as much or less than teachers who are subpar. That's not right. It's not fair. And
yeah, and it's the only industry. Well, merit pay is another issue that a lot of school districts have talked about doing, but then the union steps in. Oh no, we can't have that, and it's been one of the big questions that's gone on. Also, I think parental involvement is parental involvement a lot bigger in charter schools because it's more local control? Would you say?
Oh, absolutely. Here's the thing. One of the things that frankly makes my blood boil is that you blame, school officials, school representatives will blame parents for not being involved and say, well, we can't do anything until parents aren't involved. Yet what they do is by eliminating parental choice, by fighting parental choice, parental involvement begins with the choice of where to send your children to school. And if we say you can only send your children to the school where you can afford to live, and then we're shocked that parents aren't invested and involved. When we open public school choice, charter schools, district open enrollment, all of that, parents are truly invested because, we're invested in what we choose. And so you get a more cooperative relationship between parents and their children's teachers. And that just sets a glide path for success for everybody.
Yeah, it really does. What about the whole controversy of test scores as a way to evaluate teachers? I just recently I read something. I think it might have been in California. A judge said that you can't use test scores as a way to evaluate teachers. How does it work in charter schools? Is it different than other schools? Or?
Well, I can tell you, as a means of disclosure, I served on a charter school board for almost 10 years. And what we did is, there's a way to pay your teachers out of the budget, so on and so forth. We privately fundraised so that we could pay our best teachers more. And it was based on not a single measure, not just one test score, because students and parents of young children have to take personal responsibility too for performance. It can't be a one shot. It has to be. I like the idea of where are children starting, and where should they be, and see how close you get that way, and make sure that teachers are what distinguishes good merit or incentive or performance pay programs from the really bad ones is that teachers have to be involved in what they're being evaluated on. It has to be clear, it has to be fair, and if teachers aren't up to snuff, you get some time, real professional development, not what I call this drive-by, sit in a classroom for 8 hours, check the box foolishness. Real, rigorous professional development, and I would say mentorship. We should be taking our best veteran teachers, putting them with our novice teachers, sort of like medical school. So it's a tide that lifts all boats.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Sort of the old apprentice system, the way that used to work. Vicki Alger, thanks so much for joining us. The book is called Failure, and you can take a look at it at independent.org.
You might not know it, but fall is the perfect time to feed your lawn. So this football season, you can spend halftime eating some lukewarm bean dip, or you can head outside and run some lawn feeding routes using Scott's Turf Builder Winter Guard Fall Lawn Food. The conditions are ideal for grass to grow deep roots, so your lawn will be stronger come spring. So forget the room temperature dip. Get out there and pick up your bag today. Fall time is yard time with Scott's.
If you're familiar with cloud computing, you probably know that Amazon Web Services offers a complete set of secure compute, storage, application, and deployment services that help companies launch and scale their IT infrastructures while lowering costs. But did you know that you're still responsible for protecting your own AWS-based assets, meaning your applications and data, from advanced cyber threats? Protect your AWS with Barracuda Network's advanced firewall solutions. Visit AWS Marketplace or barracuda.com/AWS to learn more. more.
We were trending long before Facebook. This is Issues Today. Here is Bob Gourley.
Well, there's been a battle between food manufacturers and the environmentalists regarding GMO labeling, and there's been some new developments, and we're going to be talking about that today with Carla Lee Johnston, who has been a big proponent of labeling for a long time. She's a food manufacturer, does a lot of different things, and we'll find out about that as well. Carla, good to have you with us on the program.
Nice to be on, Bob. Thanks for having me.
What is the latest on this? Is there new legislation coming regarding labeling?
Well, we're hoping that we can get a clean bill, but at this point, the food manufacturers continue to want to create some deceptive, bills so that they can hide still behind the labeling for GMOs. So we all hope that that's what's going to happen, because certainly I believe we all have a right to know what's in our food.
And it's still being debated. Nothing's been passed. I wonder, because of an election year, if it's going to get done this year or not.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that there's some pretty heavy-duty lobby. Monsanto has a big voice over there on a lot of different levels. So hopefully we can get this through, because it is, it's killing the Vermont law that was just passed, and it's creating some problems. And hopefully we can get it done.
No,
so I think the most important thing for us to do is know about GMOs, right, and what they are.
Well, that's
so
what
we
I want
can avoid them ourselves.
Yeah, that's what I want to talk about, because I think there's some confusion as to what exactly it means by genetically modified. And so, kind of get into that for us for a little. What does it mean exactly, GMO?
Yeah, so a lot of times you hear a natural argument that, well, hey, if a tangerine tree and an orange tree put together creates a tangelo, right? But a GMO is very different than that. It's actually a genetically modified organism where they're actually injecting bacteria and viruses and pesticides into a gene, and that gene becomes then resistant to the actual pesticide. And what that does is it helps our little varmints not eat the plant. The problem with that is that we are now finding it in mother's breast milk. We're finding it in the umbilical cords of children. We're finding it in our sick children's urine, and it has penetrated our DNA. So it's a serious matter that I care enough about to be on these radio shows and having this conversation. I feel like it is the most important conversation on any dinner plate across America. Even though it may be unpalatable, it is necessary for us to recognize what these are doing to our body, and then what we can do to avoid them until we can get our government agencies to do what's right.
Now, some people have suggested, or I might play devil's advocate with you for a moment, that some of the studies say there's absolutely no, there's no reaction, or that these things are perfectly safe, and that this has been going on, that there's no such thing as a natural seed, that kind of thing. How do you react to that?
Well, that's absolutely falsehood, and if you do any homework at all, the UN, 400 scientists in 56 countries have signed on and now say that the argument for Monsanto was that basically it was yielding more crops, we could feed more hungry people. That's been completely refuted by the United Nations in a study that was released that was 29 years with 400 scientists backing it and 56 countries. And what was conclusively given is that GMOs are carcinogenic. They're creating infertility. They're creating mass problems not only on our land, but they're creating bacteria-resistant pesticides and antibodies in our bodies. So these super weeds are actually requiring more and more billions of tons of glyphosate to kill the actual weeds, which is the whole argument about the killer plant. There's a lot of information that's too difficult to not acknowledge when you start doing some homework.
Now, the labeling law, if passed, and again you said it's pending because it hasn't been passed in the congressional level yet, would what make it necessary then to put any modified ingredient on the label, or how would that work exactly?
Well, some companies have started, it'll say, this contains genetically modified ingredients, so that you'll at least know that what you're consuming is a GMO. Because a lot of times things are hiding, high fructose corn syrup, is this a GMO? Well, yeah, anything that's corn, pretty much 95% of most crops are GMO. So unless you're buying organic, you really, truly, if you're tracing the ingredients and you know then you know to avoid them. But it's laced in almost all of our fast food because of the oils that are being used to fry our French fries and to cook our burgers. So just important. Knowledge is power. It's really the first thing that gives us the ability to be sovereign.
Yeah, is it possible? I mean, what is it going to do? Is this going to cripple the food supply if we have to do this? If people all of a sudden don't want to buy these kind of foods anymore, what's that going to do to it? Or is it possible to grow enough foods that are not modified to take care of our demands and demands of the world?
Yeah, good question, Bob. Yes, that study from the United Nations that I cited actually does show that organic crops yield 116% more. So we are talking about specific reasons that these GMOs are being allowed into our food supply, and most of it is an oligarchy and to actually, control the food supply. And that's a scary thing when we allow corporations to control our food supply.
So in other words, so what you're saying then, it's the big corporations that are trying to keep control. Luckily, I think we do have a number of the smaller organic farms that are popping up all over the place. And they're becoming very popular, and it's actually lowered the price, too, on a lot of the organic goods.
And it will.
Yeah.
And if we already know that we already have been proven by this study that organic crops yield 116% more. So their rhetoric is simply that. It's rhetoric and not truthful. And we really need to start turning away from the media that's, owned by the pharma and Monsanto and sponsorship thereof, and really start, like you said, returning back to the grassroots. And we can't keep poisoning. The issue isn't just poisoning our body, it's also poisoning the planet and the amount of species we're losing as a result of these pesticides being dumped on Mama Earth. So important stuff, and really critical for our long-term sustainability as a humanity, and certainly for our children's future. It's a really important conversation.
And certainly the discussion will continue. Carla Lee Johnston, thanks so much for talking to us. She has her great nut burgers as well. You can go to this website, nutburgers.com.
Lawns love fall. They love backyard touch football and kids diving into leaf piles. But what lawns really love is fall's cool air and warm soil. That's why now is the time to use Scott's Turf Builder grass seed to help repair and thicken your lawn from the long summer. Scott's Turf Builder grass seed grows grass quicker, thicker, and greener, guaranteed. So pick up a bag today. Fall time is yard time with Scott's.
Geico presents a voicemail from your friend, Electricity.
Hey, it's me, Electricity, so I'll keep this short. Get it? Never mind. Anyway, I just want to make sure you're not, still mad at me about that electrical fire in your kitchen. I mean, obviously you're not, but I'm just checking to make sure. It's no big deal if you are. It's not like you're asking me to pay for the damage. Right?
Electricity won't pay for an electrical fire. Luckily, the Geico Insurance Agency makes getting coverage a snap. Visit geico.com to see how affordable renter's insurance can be.
Introducing Truly Spiked and Sparkling Water. It tastes like sparkling water, but with a refreshing twist. 5% alcohol, light fruit taste, simple ingredients, and 100 calories. Truly refreshing.
Hard Seltzer Beverage Company, LLC, Boston, Mass. Please drink responsibly.
Like the taste of fresh apples? Try an Angry Orchard Hard Cider. It takes 2 apples to make each bottle of Angry Orchard. Crisp, refreshing, and not too sweet. Angry Orchard Hard Cider. Branch out.
Angry Orchard Cider Company, Walton, New York. Drink responsibly.
Sign Now by Barracuda Networks is the next generation in e-signature solutions, accelerating business transactions for more than 4 million people and counting. Sign Now is priced at a fraction of the cost of comparable solutions, offers superior ease of use, yet includes all the enterprise-class security and functionality your business will ever need to safely go paperless. Sign Now is pre-integrated with Salesforce, Office 365, and Google Apps. And you can even integrate Sign Now with your own app through its API. Visit signnow.com and enter promo code RADIO to start your free trial.
Matters that affect you. This is Issues Today. Here is Bob Gourley.
Well, now that the school year has once again begun, we see the kids toting their backpacks to the buses or getting into the school or wherever they happen to be. And, the questions arise every year. Just, are they damaging? Is that 30, 40 pounds going to hurt kids? Well, we're going to be talking today to Bob Pritchard, who is president of SOMAX Performance Institute, who has some interesting thoughts on it and some of the long-range difficulties that take place with backpacks as well. Bob, a pleasure to have you with us on the program.
Thank you.
Yeah, but tell us, first of all, it can be pretty damaging, these backpack things, can they not?
Well, the usual complaint about them is that they cause musculoskeletal injuries, back pain, neck pain, things like that. Kids sometimes complain to their parents that their back is bothering them, and now a lot of educators and physical therapists and occupational therapists are warning parents about this problem, but we've actually discovered a much more serious problem from carrying a heavy backpack, and that is that they can actually lead to lower school grades.
Oh, really? Now, what causes that?
Well, when you're carrying a heavy backpack every day back and forth to school, you have to overuse the muscles of your chest and your stomach in order to support that backpack. Otherwise, you would just fall over backwards. And so most people think, well, at worst, you're going to get some discomfort in your back. But the problem is that when you chronically tense up muscles like that, the connective tissue that surrounds the muscles thinks that you've broken a rib, and it starts to create microfibers between those membranes that normally allow the muscles to slide past each other, just like cartilage in a joint allows bones to move in a joint. And those microfibers bind the muscles together, and in doing so, they actually restrict the expansion of the chest and the stomach. And the problem is that when this happens, you're not taking in as much oxygen as you normally would or blowing out as much carbon dioxide. So your brain, which requires 10 times more oxygen than any other part of your body, is just not getting the oxygen it needs to perform at its best.
So that causes psychological problems as well as the physical things that are going on as well. Then, is what you're saying, or can certainly.
Let's just look at the problem with grades. Okay, so we do a lot of high-end swim camps where parents throughout the U.S. bring their kids to our camps, and we teach the kids and the parents how to improve their stroke mechanics by using underwater video. So part of the work that we do with them during the week is that we release microfibers in their hips and their shoulders that can be restricting their stroke, but we also restrict microfibers that are restricting their breathing because, of course, breathing is very important when you swim, okay? So these kids all improve their times, and they take far fewer strokes, but what was interesting is that as we followed up with them, say 3 and 6 months later, their parents were all telling us, hey, my son or my daughter is doing much better in school this year. And some of them were doing so much better that their grade point average went up by a full letter grade.
Wow.
So that's when we first saw a relationship between chest expansion and school grades. Now, we don't think that their school grades got better because their hips were more flexible or their shoulders were more flexible. It had to be due to the expansion in their chest. The other thing that we noticed, starting around the year 2000, is that these kids who were applying to the camps had much more restricted breathing ranges than we had seen in the past. Some of them only had like an inch of expansion when they took a deep breath, and really for doing swimming or something like that, you need a 20% expansion. So someone with a 30-inch chest should expand 6 inches and not 1 inch. So that was one thing that we noticed, and then of course we see the improvement in school grades. And then after many years, we finally did some research, and we found that larger school backpacks were introduced back in the mid-'90s. So the kids who were showing up in the year 2000 had been carrying these for like 5 years, and that's what was restricting their breathing, and it turns out was also affecting their school grades. Then we had a young college golfer who came to us whose attention span and when he was in school was so bad that he was prescribed Ritalin, and he was always making C grades and just barely got into kind of an easy college. So he came here and completed our 4-week program for golfers. And after he went back, as we worked with him, we found his chest expanded only 2 inches, so we were able to double that to 4 inches. And we also happened to measure his forced vital capacity, which was, I think, 3.02 liters, and that expanded to 4.01 liters. So his vital capacity of his lungs actually increased about 33%. So he went back home and found his present college so boring that he transferred to a more difficult school, and he ended up graduating with A's in 2 majors and 2 minors.
Wow. So that made that much difference. And I guess people will be asking, well, is there something you can do to adjust the backpacks to help with this, or should they get rid of them altogether?
There's 2 things. One is that you want to have them stretch to expand their breathing. And if that doesn't work, then our microfiber reduction will. But the other thing, I think, is to make sure that the backpack doesn't weigh any more than 10% of their weight, and you get a backpack that has a hip cinch on it. So, unfortunately, we haven't found any small backpacks that are this way. Usually only the large adult backpacks have hip cinches. But it's very important for the weight to be carried by the hips and not be carried by the upper body.
Yeah, really, it's all a condition of getting it in the right part of the body and not putting all that strain on all of those areas as well. Well, most interesting, Bob Pritchard, we want to thank you for talking to us. If you'd like more info on all of this, the studies, all that stuff, you can go to this website, which is somaxsports.com.
You might not know it, but fall is the perfect time to feed your lawn. So this football season, you can spend halftime eating some lukewarm bean dip, or you can head outside and run some lawn feeding routes using Scott's Turf Builder Winter Guard Fall Lawn Food. The conditions are ideal for grass to grow deep roots, so your lawn will be stronger come spring. So forget the room temperature dip. Get out there and pick up your bag today. Fall time is yard time with Scott's.
Geico presents a voicemail from your friend Washing Machine.
Hi, it's Washing Machine. It's about, 7 o'clock on Wednesday. So, good news, bad news. First, I found your lost sock. Exciting! Also, I might have maybe flooded the whole basement. It's going to be pretty expensive. But hey, at least you got that sock.
Your washing machine won't pay for water damage. Luckily, one call to the Geico Insurance Agency makes it easy to switch and save on homeowners insurance.
Bob Gourley back with you. Hey, we want to thank you for joining us. Tell a friend about the program. And you can listen to us worldwide by going to our website, which is issuestoday.radio.com. Lots of good things there. We also have our blog and much more. We'll talk to you again next time.
For podcasts and more, go to issuestodayradio.com. This is a public affairs presentation.